40.
39.
Number 1.
39.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33. 32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10. 9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! And good evening and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty, fresh take on politics. And yes, we have another fine show for you this evening. We have Randy Niemeyer. He's up in the District 1 running against some Mervan, Frank Mervan, that's his name. He's held that seat for a long time. We're gonna talk about that and see what's up with him. His situation is similar to mine, except he's got less points to make up. I have only 40 points to make up. He has less than that. We're going to talk to him about that race and how it's going, but I've heard good things. And we're always glad to have somebody on. We had Micah Beckwith on last week. That was a darn good show. We had lots of compliments, lots of viewers. So I know we got a lot of sports events going on. I just came back from a fundraiser or a little meet and greet with Victoria Sparks up at the Geist area, which Tiffany was helping with. And I don't see her backstage. So this might be just the three amigos tonight because Lucy is taking the night off as well. I'm sure that they're taking their paid vacation tonight. Nobody gets paid on this show, but it is a good show. You must admit you do get your money's worth on this show. We have no commercials. We don't have anything. Where else can you find action all the time? But before we get started here, I got to talk about the media, the ones that get paid to do their job. So I have a couple complaints about how they cover things. So, I have been interviewed by the Indy Star. They wanted to. This gentleman called me. He says, "I want to do a phone interview." I said, "I don't like phone interviews. Just do it in person." So I go meet him at the coffee shop over here. We have a nice hour and a half long talk. We talked about everything. I think we cured cancer. It was just a marvelous time. We even sang Kumbaya and made some s'mores. And then about a week ago, Monday, the guy gets resigned, which I can say that they told him they were going to fire him unless he resigns. So guess what? No story done. So I get this next reporter, Brittany, nice lady. Have her come out to the art center, spend about an hour with her. We talked about all the other things. She saw the art center, saw what we do over here in Marcel, all that stuff, makes an article out. It's a big, just a great advertisement for Andre Carson. I get one paragraph, no mention of anything we're doing here. And so I sent her back a text message. Boy, that was disappointing. Why'd you even bother? If you were going to do endorse Andre Carson, you might as well just have done it without putting me on there. She said, "Well, you could call my editor." So Caitlin Lang, I call her up, and I was as nice as I could be with her. But I said, "What's the deal?" Well, we don't cover not uncontested races. We just don't cover those. I said, "Well, it did seem very uninformative. I mean, if you wanted to know something about myself, there'd been nice to have some things in there instead of just a couple sentences and one of my quotes. This wasn't acceptable." Oh, so then we fast forward to last Wednesday. I go to the Fox 59 studios and I sit down with them and with Dan Spieler. And we talk for about 15, 20 minutes. I'm thinking, I was really well. Hopefully if they just were to play this, that'd be great. Same thing. They do a big old thing about how great Andre Carson is. And they put one quote from me in there. And that is it. And no, to be fair, that's how they did everybody that wasn't an incumbent. So basically, they're just advertising for the incumbents. We don't have a chance. Let's fast forward to tonight. This is my show tonight. I'm the one that produces this, and I'm the one that picks this. And that's why we started this show 4 years ago, because we want to find out what's really going on. And we do that. We've already had a couple people on here that have not, the Democrats have used parts of this show in their hit ads against some of our people. And we've been in the Washington Post with Jen Pace. I did that interview with her, and they took right off the Mouthwash Talk Show, put it right in the Washington Post. So we're sort of semi-famous. But what we want to do is we want to listen to people's opinions. We respect your opinion. We may not agree with it, but that's what we want to do. We want to try to give you an honest take. Now, tonight we don't have Lucy or Tiffany here. Like I said, it's the three amigos, and they've been patiently waiting backstage while I get out here and rant and rave like I do. And now it's time to bring them on here. I'm going to go ahead and bring Brad on and make fun of the White Sox, because I think that the World Series is going on. I'm going to ask him about that. Hey, Brad, are the White Sox in the World Series?
Unfortunately, no. They
had a record-breaking year, didn't they?
They did. Looking forward to not repeating that again. Hopefully.
All right. Well,
losses in MLB history in one season. That's
yeah.
Something the Cubs should have had.
Earlier, the Boston Red Sox and that goat thing they had going on about the Yankee State. I don't know, but hey, I'm wishing you luck next year. That's good. But I think the Dodgers have won 3 games out of the 3 games.
They're up 3-0. Yeah, against New York.
What's your pick? Maybe they'll be. I don't think it'll be over by then. What do you think? The Yankees are going to keep it going or not?
No, I think the Yankees have. The Dodgers have too many White Sox players on their team now, which is hilarious because
is that true?
Yeah, that's what happens. The closers, like the pitchers, they got traded off the White Sox and then they moved to the Dodgers, and now they're going to win a World Series.
Well, I think that's a fair trade, except for the White Sox. It's the no Sox.
They traded up, or at least the players did.
Let's put it this way: they were dodging the White Sox. Is that how you put that? I'm sorry, it's too early for that bad stuff. Well, hey, let's get to this. Hopefully, Tiffany was hosting this meet and greet for Victoria Sparks tonight, so she may or may not get there, because when I left, I had a 45-minute drive home, and I barely made it here. So let's go ahead and bring on our guest tonight here. Let's see what we got here. Oh, let's do it this way. There we go. I'm going to put you up here, Randy, by Brad. So Randy, Brad is I bet you don't know this, but he's a famous librarian from Monroe, Alexandria by Anderson. He's just been promoted up to director. Next thing he'll be like president of the Indiana Libraries. Is that right, Brad? Is that your next move?
I mean, yeah, that's the plan, because this just sort of fell in my lap. So.
Take over the world. Take over all the libraries.
One step at a time.
Yes, that's very good. That's very good.
I've never heard of this position, John. This is new to me. This is a president, like a famous librarian. I've never heard of this, but it's good to meet. Yeah, it's good to meet you, Brad. I appreciate knowing you. It's nice to know a celebrity in the library business.
Yeah,
I'm a world record shusher.
He is. Well, it's important if you get pulled over by the police and they want to throw the book at you, you just drop his name and you get right out of it. So
he's done.
I'm on it tonight.
The dad jokes. Yeah.
I'm not even drinking a caffeinated drink today, so maybe that's what's the matter. But so Randy, hey, thanks for coming on. We're both running our feet off right now, doing everything. You know what? So let's start this out the good old fashioned way. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Randy Niemeyer from Cedar Lake, Indiana. I am a small business owner, own a small trucking company, 22 trucks. My brother and we've been in the trucking business for 4 generations. My brother and I bought the company in 2016. Got 3 million miles of trucking experience myself, and I have 2 kids, a daughter who's a senior at the University of Alabama, a Roll Tide, and a son who's I see the thumbs down, but
that a lot, huh?
I root for the Hoosiers too, so I'm pretty happy with Coach Sig. But my son is a factory worker, been married to my wife Madeline for 22 years, served in local government now for 16 years, currently a county councilman here in Lake County, and serve as the Lake County Republican Party chairman as well. So that's the Reader's Digest version. Wear a few hats. I have a lot of passion about the processes of government, and decided this year with what we see around us that it was far too far gone as far as the time to step up and be a part of this race here on the federal side. I'm watching my kids, who are young adults, have the prospects of that American dream become something that is really just a dream right now. So it's time to step up.
Yep. So Jennifer Ruth Green came pretty close to beating Frank last time. What was his point spread there?
5.5 points.
So that's pretty close. Now, have you guys done any polling in this time around? I mean, stuff's a lot different than 2 years ago. I mean, there's been some problems. If you didn't know.
Yeah, we've done some polling, and our polling from the start has shown us anywhere in that 3 to 5 range. Right now, it's shown President Trump in that 3-point range too in this district. So it's clearly something that's sitting within that margin of error, opportunity to win. Cook Political had this at a D+4, D+5 when it started. So we're right in that range. And I think with what we're seeing right now from a turnout standpoint, it bodes pretty well to have a pretty exciting finish here.
Yeah, you definitely got. Now I have a D+40, so it's nothing. I got you got it in the bag. So
I agree with you, John. Keep working.
It's a daunting task, but we got to keep trudging along. So Brad, what now? This is Lake County. So Lake County is the northwest corner of a lot of Chicago-ish area, isn't it? Do you have some East Chicago in yours, or what?
Yeah, we've got Lake County, all of Porter County, and 6 townships in LaPorte County. So along the lakeshore, you've got Whiting, Hammond, East Chicago, Gary, Michigan City, Portage, Valparaiso, Crown Point. Those are kind of the major population centers in the region. The cities along the lakeshore have all shrunk in population quite a bit. Gary, Hammond, and East Chicago used to make up over 50% of the district, and they now make up 23%. So what we've seen is a migration from Illinois into the suburban communities. A lot of growth. People are voting more conservative. We've seen the blue-collar workers, who I think are still the same, but they're identifying more with the center to center right than they are with what has become the far left. And my opponent has voted 97% with the far left of his party. So, like I say, there are just factors that are working in our favor right now. With me being a blue collar trucker, that helps too. I identify with people here pretty well.
Yep. So how long has Frank Mervan been in office?
He's been in 4 years. Pete Visklosky had it for 36 years prior to that, but the office has been held by a Democrat since 1930 was when the last Republican left office. So during the Herbert Hoover administration.
Okay. Yeah, we lost Brad there somehow. Hopefully his internet's okay.
I usually have that effect on some Democrats, John. So no big deal.
No, Brad usually has to endure much worse than you. He's had to endure Micah and all sorts of people that that get that.
I'm a pretty nice guy.
Pretty nice. Well, it's like, so you have the trucking company and what kind of is it day stuff or is it long haul? What kind of trucking do you do?
Yeah, we run regional. We haul milk off of dairy farms and tankers, and we haul food grade liquids. And so it's regional work. Our drivers are typically out 4 or 5 nights a week. So it's work that I like to do. I mean, I tell people that the times I get to drive still while I'm running for office are times where I get to get my mind right, because I'm behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler and it's time to kind of recalibrate. So it's a nice getaway once in a while, but the last couple months of the campaign, there hasn't been much getting away. Yeah,
that's like bricklaying. I mean, it's like I actually laid some block last week and my back was dumpster for 2 days. It's like, what was I thinking on that?
But you liked it while you were doing it, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it's like I'm 34 years I've been doing it. I've been doing masonry pretty much for for ever since I was 14. It's one of those jobs that it's hard, but I like it. It's like, it's just, but this is quite a change. And I know you're probably thinking that too, trying to go to Washington, D.C. That's just a total different thing. Now, you could probably make this work out. You could take a load out. You could take a load of milk out to D.C., do the work out there, and then drive something back, right? I mean, you could actually make this work out.
Yeah, we've actually hauled some milk into that DMV area there over the years, and hauled some other products around there. But we don't get out there too much anymore. But I've hauled some milk out in that Virginia area a few times myself, and no, I'm not interested in taking a milk truck there, and dealing with DC traffic was one of those.
Yeah. So remember when they dumped the load of broccoli on there for Bush? They loads of broccoli because he didn't like broccoli or something. So maybe whoever wins the election, they say something about milk. We'll take some milk out there. And we'll
right on. Yep.
But so if you thought about any of that stuff about going out to DC, I mean, I think I talked to you earlier, and you have been out there a couple times and talking to people and raising some funds and these and that. So is it something that, I mean, one of the things they asked me is like, well, there's 435 people in there. How are you going to change their mind and all that? It's like, well, I can see you're sort of a bigger guy, just going to put him in a headlock and say, hey, this is what we're going to do today.
Well, it's not about changing everybody's mind, right? It's about building consensus. I mean, that's what the people's government's about, is working with people, trying to find compromise where we need to, but being independent enough and bold enough to, move an agenda. And the agenda that I want to move forward is obviously the first priority is the one for my district. I've living in that part of Indianapolis, that you win an office like this, I can't govern like you would in Alabama. It's a different type of thing. We've got to be, really aware of our constituency, govern in that fashion, have that bold, independent streak that allows us to move the needle, but develop the good relationships that keeps the ball moving forward.
So how many, yours is a smaller district, is that correct? I mean, I have the smallest area wise. Yours is not like, I think Jefferson Shreve has 9 counties to cover. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm about 2 1/3, 2.5 counties, somewhere in there.
Okay. So what's the contrast in there? I know, Gary used to have a bunch of steel workers, but is that still a prevalent trade up there, or a job situation? I know that I think the Japanese bought US Steel, and what's going on with that part as far as the blue collar, white collar? What do you have most of there?
Mostly blue collar, middle class people, right? It's a lot of skilled trades, still a good bit of steel workers, truckers, a lot of construction. Northwest Indiana is still a hub for industry and tradespeople. So we have a lot of folks that are just good old fashioned Midwestern working people. And, it's not the white collar area like Hamilton County has become around there. This is still that dirt under the fingernails, blue collar area, and people a lot like me. That's why I resonate pretty well with them as a career trucker.
Now, do you think that, blue collar and Democrat, I mean, they even have a blue, they even talk about that, the blue dog Democrats or whatever it is. Have you noticed a shift? It seems like our parties may be trading places, because it seems like Republicans love to spend money these days. And, Democrats really say they're looking for the working guy, but I don't see it as much. Have you noticed much of that? And hold on a second, Randy, I'm going to bring Lucy's going to come on audio only. Let's see if we can get her. Lucy, are you there?
Hey, I am here, but can you hear me through this as a different headset than I normally use?
Actually, it sounds pretty good. Keep that one.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Keep one. Hey, Randy, how's it going?
I'm great, Lucy. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know you're a nice guy. So, normally I'm the pit bull on the show, give people a hard time. And I told John I didn't want to come on here and
not be a pit bull.
It's still your thunder of your time.
Yeah.
And now it's open season since Brad's gone.
Yeah, I'm I'm not too scared. I deal with a lot of that stuff here in Northwest Indiana, so we go boldly where Republicans normally don't go.
Yeah, Jim,
that's
what was the guy that held that position for so long? Jim?
It was Pete Bisklowski held it for 36 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he ran against my friend Donna Dunn was the Libertarian on the ticket
Yes,
against him a few
yeah,
years ago.
I remember that.
He was reprehensible.
when you're in there 36 years, which is interesting because my great uncle was in the Indiana House for 36 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was he was from like 1928 to 1968. He was Senate 4 years. I don't know why he moved to the Senate.
Yeah, I have a term for that, John. It's people become their own office furniture.
Yes.
So they serve a purpose sitting in the office. They look good sitting there, and that's about it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's never my goal to become my own office furniture.
Well, that brings up a point about, are we really voting for people anymore? I mean, it seems like they just, your competitor. I mean, the only difference I see between, your guy and my guy is anti-Semitic and he voted against condemning the Hamas attack. Your guy was at least smart enough to, vote against that, to condemn it. But other than that, it sounds like to me they vote right down the party line, and when they say jump and they say how high. Do you hear that much with people that you're talking to? I mean, we talked about going places where Republicans don't go. What do you hear when you go to those places? I mean, I've heard some doggone interesting stuff in some of these places. I think they forget who is there listening. So, are you having any kind of experience?
Yeah, I mean, we've made well over 100,000 voter contacts in our ground game here, and what we hear from people is that even folks that are more Democrat leaning is that they don't agree with the far left, so they're pushing back, and they see some of that party line vote stuff as problematic in a Midwestern middle of the road 50-50 district like the first district has become. So yeah, that is something we get a lot of feedback on. And have for quite some time. The door-to-door work we're doing is telling us a pretty good story.
Yep. So what are those far left issues? Are they what are they that you're hearing from some of those people that are saying this is a bridge too far, I can't go there?
Yeah, some of the big things are the economic policies, right? You talked about spending, those spending sprees in 2021 and 2022, $7+ trillion of spending bills that it was just inflation. It was a hidden tax on the middle class. And the folks here are feeling it. They're working 2 jobs, got people that are retired going back to work. The open border things too is what people see as a problem as well here in the district. We're so close to Chicago, we get some of that trickle over. So those are the policies, the main things that people that are more middle of the road Democrats here in the district or traditional Democrats, and they're pushing back against it because one thing that an empty wallet doesn't know is your political party.
Ooh.
So those are things that resonate across party lines.
Well, speaking of empty wallets, Brad does not have an empty wallet. He just got a big promotion. I'm sure that came with a giant raise and all that.
Yeah.
And that
Us book pushers, we
yeah, it's
big bucks.
You got a free subscription to Playboy. I'm sure that all that you're going to put that right.
No, there's no pornography in the library.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right, yeah. Sure. So Brad, what being the lone, well, you're now in Indiana. Usually you're the lone Democrat. You're an Indiana Democrat. Did you get promoted there as well?
I think like we talked about this once. I don't think that Indiana Democrats are like the same as a national, is like a California Democrat, I guess.
Okay.
Not to say that I feel like there's more unity in being from Indiana than being a part of a party. I would hope for both sides, but I feel like that is going away from the Republicans. I feel like they're all one voice a lot of the times.
You obviously didn't see the state convention where we about murdered each other at it, but hey, that's hey.
Good for you for hiding how the sausage is made.
Yeah,
but actually, well, yeah. Still, I don't know with Micah and
and Julie,
Senator Braun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's a honeymoon maiden in Hollywood, does it? So,
No.
you know, and I do think that the Democrats are making a good move here on the governor. And what I want to ask is, how much do you think that has, Randy, with our races? I know in my situation, that top of the ticket, I think people are just go voting for that. They're not even looking down. Lord help you if you're on the school board, you better have a large family that you can twist their arm to go vote for you, because you're probably not going to win because the oxygen is sucked out of the room by our two top ticket people. So is that something that you are running into?
Right now, what I see is Braun is doing really well here in Northwest Indiana because he has been endorsed and resonates with all the blue collar people, the local trade unions, the skilled labor. The only unions that didn't endorse him, I think, are the steel workers and UAW, but all the skilled trades all endorsed him, and the teachers union didn't endorse him either. But
that's surprising.
He has really picked up a lot of steam here in Northwest Indiana. He spent a lot of time up here, and the top of the ticket's actually helping me quite a bit. Trump is pulling well in the district, and so is Braun. Banks is pulling really well too. So we've got a pretty strong brand that's being built here in Northwest Indiana.
Yep.
So do they not understand like what Micah Beckwith could mean to Indiana? Like, I feel like we're more freaked out by him in the middle of the state here than people in Lake County.
Yeah, I mean, I know Micah personally. I've met him. He's a good guy to talk to. He and I have, been in the same place and speaking in the same place several times. I don't hear much about him up here, Brad. It's, a lieutenant governor is not a real sexy position. Okay, they have the gavel in the Senate, and they do some other administrative work, but it's not one of those positions that, at least what I've seen, that gets the top of the ticket as it relates to the talk of the town. So I haven't seen a big groundswell here in Northwest Indiana about Micah Beckwith like maybe you guys have in Central Indiana.
Yeah, I think that is there. I'm going to put up a question by Robert Malicky. Now, he's disappointed because Tiffany's not on, because, and Lucy's in the background, so that's half the equation here. But
we all are.
How about the illegal immigrants in Lake County? Is that an issue that's popping up? Or, I know as a union worker, and you got workers coming in and undercutting wages, I think that union people have a little bone to pick with somebody that's letting illegals come in.
Yeah, we've seen it here, John. In my county council district is the southern part of Lake County, and we had unfortunately a stabbing of a young 13-year-old who was just attending a baseball game of her brother by a guy who has been deported before from Honduras with ties to MS-13, and he was led across in the Biden-Harris asylum program. So it was an example right in my backyard in one town south, 9 miles south of me, that every community has essentially become a border community because of this. So yeah, it's something that people are very concerned about.
Okay, so our people, I remember one year when Formula One was here, I played pool with some Russians that were in immigration, and I'm like, and then as the pool match went on, we realized they were the mafia, and we let them win, so I would live. That's a true story. You can look it up on the internet. Don't fact check me. But Chicago, I mean, are you getting migration from, they get in Chicago, then they come out, or are they coming straight up, or do you have any statistics on that, or any ear to the ground? I mean, you're a truck driver, you're out there seeing stuff.
There's no real statistics available, but I can tell you, I talked to a lot of police officers and police chiefs around the region, and they're telling me stories about their encounters, and encounters are consistently going up and up and up all the time. So there is definitely a trickle over from Chicago being a sanctuary city. We did have 2 sanctuary cities in Lake County, but Attorney General Rokita put an end to that.
Hey, Brad, what do you think about that deal? Do you think, the sanctuary city thing. I mean, you're a Democrat. That's what they do.
I think Attorney General Todd Rokita is focusing on all the right issues and spending tax dollars wisely on
You try to get
things that really benefit the state. You know.
Yeah.
Well, Todd's from Munster. Yeah, Todd's from Munster here in Lake County, so
Randy,
I know his family well.
He's got a little region in him. That's for
no,
sure.
I'm from Griffith.
Okay.
Originally, so like I know it's irritating.
You had to get out. You're one of the lucky ones. So, hey, Lucy, are you still there? I know you have some questions here, and you could be a little meaner if you want. I mean, you've got the reputation on the show here.
Well, I've got my first litmus test question, Randy, and the question is taxation theft? Is it robbery? Is it extortion, or all of the above?
No, I don't think taxation is theft. I think when the government does things like print money, where it is pulling it directly out of your pocket without your consent. Again, government is about consent. So we only govern at the consent of the governed. And I think if taxation is done with that consent, then it's the right way to do it.
Would you please send the IRS a letter on my behalf to let them know that I don't consent? And you can send that to the Indiana Department of Revenue as well. I have never consented to them. But you brought up an interesting point, which is that the Federal Reserve, which of course was created in contraindication to what the U.S. Constitution says. So would you work? I mean, like, this is as serious as a heart attack question. Would you put forth a bill to end the Fed?
I can't say at the moment that I've studied ending the Fed at the moment. That hasn't been a key issue of our campaign. The federal spending has been more of the issue to kind of treat the symptom before you dive into the disease. There's a lot of pain right now in people's back pockets, and we're trying to address that pain first.
Yeah, well, you come to the right place if you want to learn about the Fed.
Well, you know what? If Congress, and if you're looking to be a congressman, obviously you're running for office. So one of the things that you must do according to the Constitution as Congress is to coin money and regulate the value thereof. I think that's paragraph 5, clause 1. Gosh, my memory is so bad.
We'll disagree with you. Just make up some numbers and we'll go with it.
Well, I do think it's paragraph 5. But anyway, the whole point of that is your entire responsibility as a congressperson is contained there in the Constitution. The mandate is there that you are to coin money and regulate the value thereof. So every sitting congressperson is derelict in their duty to the people to abide by the master contract and to execute the duties thereof. So with that in mind, would you uphold the Constitution, do the right thing, and end the Fed?
I would uphold the Constitution. Yeah, I mean, it's the core job of Congress, but I don't know if what you said to me there included the Fed anywhere.
Yes, so I asked you if you would end the Fed. So there's two things that would have to happen. First of all, you'd have to repeal the amendment that was passed on Christmas Eve in 1913, of which there are two. The first is the Federal Reserve Act, which created the Federal Reserve. Of course, that was not according to the Constitution. And then the second one is the Internal Revenue Service was also created in 1913 at the same time. The purpose of the Internal Revenue Service, of course, is to accomplish a couple of things. One is to make sure that nobody ever gets to save enough money to buy themselves out of the slavery that is perpetrated upon us. So if you've not yet watched the movie The Jones Plantation, I recommend that you watch it so that you can see how we are still economic slaves. We're just living on a plantation seemingly without borders, but that's not true either. So, your job would be to repeal those two acts that contradict the Constitution from 1913. And, you mentioned right off, obviously you understand the problem with inflation, which is the dilution of value of money by printing it up out of thin air. But of course, the problem is even worse than you mentioned because they are creating electronic money and deploying it in Europe, just like they did back in 2008, 9, and 10 with Deutsche Bank. And Senator Ron Paul was trying to audit the Fed, and he figured out they had created $14 trillion that they had put in Europe. And of course, that's very bad for America, because then people see the dilution of the money and then they don't want to hold our dollars, and therefore our dollars become less valuable. And then you have things like BRICS popping up right now. So anyway, the answer to the inflation problem that you said earlier is to take back control of the money, because the currency that we have is a Federal Reserve note. It says it right at the top, Federal Reserve note. A note is an obligation to pay. On a note, there is somebody who's obliged to pay and somebody who receives that pay. That's what a note is, right? Payee, payor. So you don't have any money in your wallet. What you have are debt-based instruments that are printed by the Federal Reserve. And that's why Kennedy was killed, by the way. Kennedy issued an executive order to return to United States notes. That, along with taking us out of Vietnam, was enough to get him killed by Lyndon B. Johnson, who of course owned armaments manufacturing, and he desperately wanted that war.
The conspiracy hats came out early on that one. I don't think. Do we have
No,
proof on
that's
that?
like
Is this Randy's first time talking to Lucy?
Yeah, no, maybe it is.
I feel like we should always warn guests before we.
I think I warned
Lucy on them with the Fed question, because it's a lot.
I'm telling you, my thing is, it started in 1913, and here 110 plus years later, and we still got this thing, and it's just, you look at where we got. We have, they've printed 40% of the money in the last 3 years that we've ever had.
You understand the way that we measure that inflation is that the word dollar means 1/20th of an ounce of gold. So if you had 20 pieces of paper in 1912, then those 20 pieces of paper added up to 1 ounce of gold. Our money is so debased and worth so little that, what was gold at? 2,300, 2,400?
It's Lucy, it's 2,700 right now.
Dang. So see, I haven't paid attention in the last couple of days. So now it takes 2,700 pieces of paper to be the equivalent of 1 ounce of hard metal. So that shows you, what is the part divided by the whole? Hold on, let me get a calculator. 2,700 divided by 20.
You didn't know there's gonna be math, did you, Randy?
Yeah.
Math on this
So
show.
the part, so 20 divided by
Listen, John. I'm just listening.
0.007. We are worth less than a penny.
Well,
Not less than 1%. Less than
we're
our
not
dollars worth
penny
less.
We're just less than a penny. It's the same.
And it took them,
John,
less. It took them less. I mean, just over 100 years. And arguably, the worst thing that happened was Bretton Woods in August of 1971, when Nixon admitted to the world that we didn't have the gold that we had, and they could no longer, come and exchange their dollars for gold at the gold window. And so at that time, the price of gold had been set at $35 an ounce. So if we just go from 1971, 35 divided by 2,700, well, now our money is worth 1.2% of what it was the year that I was born. No coincidence.
This is Nixon's
depressing
fault.
me. Yeah, it is Nixon's fault. But that was when we started doing that, and all the way up to 1963, we had silver in the quarters and things. So if you find any of that money, keep it, because it's got real silver in there. Then now even our pennies are copper plated. You can't even get a copper penny. The problem with that was you could melt down the pennies for more than it was worth more in copper than a penny.
I save my pennies for the day when they need copper more than they need pennies, because on a lot of military bases back in the 80s, you might remember they eliminated pennies entirely and everything just got rounded to nickels. So if you go to coinflation.com, then in fact, let's go there now so that I can be absolutely accurate, since I was $500 off on gold.
Man, gold has been going up for the last 6 months. So we have the stock market Neo. This would be a good time for me to plug that show. Stock Market Neophytes are noon on Monday. You can learn how to lose money in the stock market.
Wow, it's gone up. So coinflation.com says that a 1982 or older penny, which is 95% copper, because now, as John mentioned, there's zinc clad with copper, that the metal value of that is 2.8 cents. So
I know,
nearly
it's like
triple. So if you were to merely, anybody listening, if you were to merely go to the bank, as I do, and say, hey, I'm teaching my kids how to count money. Can I get $10 in pennies, $20 in pennies? Because I wanted them to understand how the money works. And then you sort those out. then you would be nearly tripling your money. So $1,000 in real pennies is worth $3,000 in copper. So I am here to show you that I know how to invest better than Warren Buffett, because he's not getting 282% returns in a
And
few
we're going to
hours.
go pick up aluminum cans on the side of the road after this. There's money in
Well,
that
that
too.
I remember people back in the 70s when I was a little girl that's how they were buying groceries
Well,
because
then
of
they
the
used to have
inflation.
deposits on the bottles and things. You could go get your 5 cents back from the bottle or whatever. But Randy doesn't know nothing about that.
So
He doesn't look
Randy,
like
how
a
are you
little
going
nut.
to save us? You're going to be one of a few hundred, hopefully good people, but I suspect that mostly not good people. So how are you planning to be a Hoosier and be a good person and save us from the federal government?
I mean, the first thing you were talking about the um, upholding the value of money, right? And that comes down to the behavior of Congress and how we budget, and the fact that we haven't even passed a budget in a couple of decades, a real budget. So it gets down to the simple things, Lucy, the common, the core common simple things in government that I've done in local government for 16 years. It's not rocket science. I tell candidates all the time when I tell candidates all the time when I'm mentoring them as a Republican chairman is if you know just a few things, you can be a very good public servant. That's add, subtract, multiply, divide. Remember who you work for, and make sure that you're doing this not for yourself. Right? If you can do those three things, then you can be successful in public service because then it becomes about the right cause, the right purpose that our founders had for us. So that's the kind of approach I'm going to take, Lucy. I'm not saying the problems are easy to solve. They're plentiful. There's lots of opportunity in Washington to solve problems, but I'm going to take the same approach I take in business every day, which is we have to solve problems so we can't ignore them. I got people who depend on their paychecks based on decisions I make. And the same goes in local government, and I believe in federal government.
Yeah, because if you don't get that milk to the market, it'll spoil, right?
Well, how do you address
We
like
all-
the division though between
What?
parties and between Congress? I mean, this past Congress wasn't it the most ineffectual? Like they passed like the least amount of laws that any Congress has done. Like so, they haven't really been productive. So how would that change? I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brad. And one of the things when I was researching a run for this office, I was looking at the roster of Congress. I wanted to see who all these people are, what their business or educational or personal backgrounds are. So I went out and just studied every member as much as I could. And what you find is that on both sides of the aisle, there's a lot of the same people. And what's happened is since everything's a 24-hour news cycle, and candidates are raising money on the attention that they get, the extremes of either side are getting all the attention. But when we look at the political class of people that are in Washington, Washington's not broken because there's too many truckers there, right? There's too many of the same type of person that's serving in Washington. They're a part of a larger machine. So I think electing someone like me that comes from that real world experience, and I still drive a truck, it's something that's long overdue in Washington to have a greater representation truly of the public than what we have there right now. So, and also I think term limits would help a ton to change the power structure within government.
Yeah,
Randy, I've got great news for you. I can solve two of the things that you just mentioned. The first is term limits. Every election is term limits. We don't need term limits. It's the will of the people. So all we have to do is get people to stop voting red and blue, and we might get something good done.
Oh,
and then the
that's
second
it?
thing is,
That's
that's it. I mean, all you got to do is vote for anybody else because all of the red and blue people have been conspiring for literally decades, hundreds of years, and have an entire system that that bipartisanship is when you agree to screw us over. And the only difference is in the background, you're working together to figure out how much you're going to screw the American people over and dividing those spoils amongst yourselves. But the second
So
thing
cynical,
that is very
Lucy.
easily solved is the apparently the interest on the debt is already surpassing defense budget spending, or very imminently will do so. And so if you simply open up your Constitution and look in that Article 1, Clause 1, Paragraph 5, as I'm recalling, All you have to do is say, you know what? Congress is supposed to coin money, regulate the value thereof. So we're going to wrestle that away from the fraudulent banking system, which you can read about in the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island
Yeah.
by G. Edward Griffin. And then you can
Explode.
say, you know what? We're going to get rid of the interest on the national debt in 1 second. And we're simply going to repudiate it because it was always fraudulent. And fraud is ab initio, which means it's fraud from the beginning. So you can repudiate all of that debt, which really isn't debt. And then $1 trillion is gone from the budget. I mean, you can do that with just a simple roll call vote, I'm sure.
So I want to go back to the term limits thing, Lucy. I used to be of the exact mindset you were. And unfortunately, the power structure within government and the system, and I call this the political industrial complex, right? There's everything in DC, everything in government creates its own industry around itself. And if we don't forcibly, through law, remove people from that power structure, it perpetuates itself. So it's this giant leviathan that, without some sort of regulatory constraint, unfortunately, the voters get duped by people because these politicians raise millions and millions and millions of dollars to dupe them and think that they're doing a great job when actually one of my least favorite things that I see my opponent does is always talks about how he's investing in things. Well, it's not him, right?
Yeah.
Government has no real money. It doesn't produce it. It takes it. So we have, again, this is just back to the common sense principles. And the term limits thing for me is just because, unfortunately, relying on the election process has not worked. And it hasn't worked because of that political machinery involved in keeping that power structure in place. If it worked, we would never have even a need for term limits. But unfortunately, with folks like Pelosi and McConnell and others who have been in those places for decades, they're not going anywhere until they're forced to move from there, or until they.
Or they're so old they can't.
Yeah,
that's what McConnell. Right. I think he's to the end. So Brad, what is your main concern that you see from the Alexandria Monroe Library area that you live in up there, Anderson or whatever, that you might want to pose a question to Randy about?
Oh, well, I guess just being from up there and stuff, having family working at refineries and whatnot. How do you feel about paying overtime? I know that Trump said that he hates it, and so I didn't know how you felt about it as a business owner, and just as far as unions go, is that being part of like a bargaining chip, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, so in my industry, in the type of trucking I do, it's actually exempt from overtime, but I pay it because I believe that it's important to incentivize your workers for productivity. So I do it voluntarily because I believe in taking care of my people.
And you disagree with Trump on that? Like,
well, what did he say on overtime, Brad? It's not ringing a bell.
Yeah, let's say this. So he said paying tax on overtime. He didn't say not paying overtime. He said pay.
His rally. He was talking about. He hated paying.
He needed
overtime.
He needed to take a nap because the first time I heard him talk about that, he was saying we won't tax overtime. So, but still, or maybe he said it goes pay by the hour, not overtime hours. So.
I don't.
What makes
I
overtime
don't recall.
Why should we tax any wages at all? I mean, it's absolutely insane to tax somebody's wages.
Yeah, this little voice from God came in right there and just said, "Hey, this made the perfect sense. You're right, Lucy. We get taxed on our wages, and then we go out and get taxed on what we buy with our wages, and then they rinse and repeat."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, but Brad, to get back to your question, I don't recall that statement made by Trump, so forgive me for that. But I can tell you, as a small business owner, I believe in if I don't have good people, I can't serve my customers. It's really that simple. And the best way for me to maintain a good workforce is to properly compensate them.
Yeah, it's like, well, when my guys get overtime, a lot of times that extra hours and that extra tax that's loaded on there because they're making more They say, well, we don't want to work overtime because it's like we work $800 worth of stuff and then we get $200 because we get taxed more. I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, I mean, but so that's
did you say that you got all of the union support?
I don't have the endorsements. They endorse the incumbent, but I can tell you that we've neutralized a lot of it. Like, I go into the union halls and speak. We get a lot of support. I mean, you saw that poll the Teamsters did, where it was like 58% of their membership is supporting Trump. And we see something similar in a demographic breakdown, just with our boots on the ground, of what we're seeing here in Northwest Indiana, that a lot of those blue collar folks aren't going the way that their leadership is endorsing. And thankfully, we've had some unions up here that basically, because of my government experience, they've allowed me in the door, right? They know I'm a blue collar guy, and I support some of those labor issues, and they've counted on me for different things, and I've come through it. Those are my constituents. The part of the county that I represent on the county council, there are a ton of union workers that live there, and they vote for me because they know that I pay attention to what's important to them. So we've had really good relationships. Again, a lot of the union leadership is in that structure of endorsing the incumbent, and that's fine. I'm after the votes, not the endorsements.
We have a little bit of that down here as well. I think that there's been some complacency, and Democrats have taken advantage of things and for granted.
Yeah.
So what have you got? Early voting started up there for you, Randy? Is it similar to ours? We had one location, and then in the week before, or a week and some days before, they have some satellites open, and then day of they have a bunch of places to vote. So
yeah, we've got quite a few satellite spots here in the first district. So yeah, it's been going on. I mean, the early voting's a state law, so it's been going on since October 8th, like everywhere else. And what we've seen is probably somewhere around 25% of the voters who will vote have voted. Not of the eligible voters, probably a little lower number of the eligible voters, but about 100,000 between absentee, mail-in ballots, and early votes. But the skew is way in the machine votes that people are actually coming in and voting in person.
Yep. So we got a question here. Tom Wade, Randy, how are you and John, you're getting grouped in with me, not going to become one of them, them? Few over our history have not gotten sucked in by the system or into the system. So are you going to do some magic potion, or what do you got?
No, I had a union guy ask me this, John, and my answer, and it kind of took him back, but it's really pretty simple. I have a CDL. I kind of like driving a truck. So it's not my goal to become one of that machine. Congress was not an office that I lusted over in my life. It was something that I felt called to through this process. So I want to go do my job, and if that earns me a spot there for a couple of terms, great. If it pushes me out because I piss too many people off, then you know what? I'm a pretty good trucker. I got a lot of experience, so I'm okay with that too.
3 million miles. I was paying attention.
Yeah.
So, did you have a primary? Did you have a primary contested?
Yeah, I had two guys run against me in the primary, and I want to say I carried around 60% of the vote, something like that.
So much crushed their spirit. I like it.
Well, no, they're good guys. I've known them for years, and one of them has become a really active volunteer on my campaign here and is helping us a lot. So we've joined together. We're a good team, and so I appreciated the competition, the primary. I think it sharpened me up and got me ready for the long haul.
Yeah, I remember we got to speak up at the big tent up there in Zionsville. That was fun. We got to say something.
That was. Like, I enjoyed listening to you, John.
Yeah,
I gotta insert myself here for a moment. The voice of God and reason coming from the wilderness, and that is, you were talking about unions. Had you all heard what the IBEW and Terre Haute did?
No, it's probably
Their
shocking.
president-
No.
No, the president of the local IBEW admitted to a police officer that he was the one that stole Donald Rainwater signs.
Oh,
And they're a polling place.
Oh, geez.
So once you open that up to, if you're a polling place, you're taking money from the government, everybody's signs have to be there. So he stole, I think it was Fitzlaff and Donald Rainwater signs, both the libertarians. So I would just like to point out, I would really like to see this man prosecuted. He admitted to a cop that he did it. So they already have admissible evidence in that confession.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. The campaign sign wars that go on are ridiculous. I tell people in my county party, leave somebody else's signs alone. They're not yours. Don't touch them. I mean, just got basic human decency. That's nonsense. I don't care where my I don't care where my opponent's signs are, how big they are. I don't give a damn. The signs don't vote. Every election I've run in, I've had more signs put out against me than I've had of my own signs, and I've won every time. So to hell with the signs, put them in the right places, communicate with voters, go out and do the ground game, and you win elections.
It's almost like the old parties don't want anybody to know that there's a choice that they can.
Oh.
I wouldn't be able to say you can vote yourself out of this because, I mean, honestly, if voting made a difference, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. But I'm curious, Randy, because I missed the first part of the show. What elected offices have you held in the past?
Yeah, I was a town council member for 12 years in my town, and I term limited myself. I realized at about year 10 that it was time for somebody new to take the reins. And I'm a county councilman right now. It's my second year as a county councilman. And then before that, I held a spot on a redevelopment commission in my town as an appointed member of that. So those are my elected offices.
As a county councilman and being on the council there, have you created, just curious in the past, any courageous stands for freedom? For example, have you ever made yourself a sanctuary city for guns and declared that the Second Amendment would be alive and well and protected in your county? I'm assuming you have Amish in your county since you're up north?
No, we don't have any Amish. We're
mostly eastern.
Oh, that's right. Because you're one. You're not.
Yeah, we're northwest. Yeah.
So that we've had Amish farms raided in Indiana and had the milk and the other products thrown in dumpsters, and there have been at least one very courageous sheriff who told the feds to get out. So, my question for you is, would you stand up for medical freedom, or have you stood up for medical freedom as a county councilman? During the scamdemic, did you declare that people would have a choice about wearing masks or vaccines in your area? Did you uphold personal choice and go against any employers that threaten people and their ability and freedom to earn a living? Or did you just sit idly by and let that happen?
So I was not on the county council during the pandemic. I was on the town council, and I was the council president. So I was the lead executive on the council. And I remember the time very well. People were very scared. And our town administrator came to me, frightened as a lot of people were, and said, "Hey, we need to close town hall." And my response to that was no. When you get hired into the government, whether it's elected or hired, you're supposed to be there when the crap hits the fan, right? We're supposed to be there for the people. So if we took some precautions in town hall, put a plexiglass, we did rotating shifts, right? All of those things, because none of us knew at the time what the severity of this was. We kept the town hall open. We had public meetings at the town hall. The public was invited. Masks were optional. So no, we did not follow Governor Holcomb's mandates to a T. I had a lady come up at public comment and threatened to have me arrested. And I said, well, it's, a mandate's not a law. And if you'd like me to wear a mask, I'm happy to wear one. I'm respectful to people, but no, we did not force any of those things upon anyone.
Well, you just scored some points with Lucy on that one, and you didn't have a Shreve moment.
Points to Randy.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking when that question was coming out, oh, this is a Shreve moment or a Murdoch moment or something. But no, very good.
As a business owner too, and in trucking, we were labeled essential, whatever the hell that means. And I think everybody's essential, but I mean, my guys were scared too, right? I have some older guys working for me that have some health conditions. Everybody was just confused. And one of the things they're concerned about is if I'm going to force them to take vaccines as a condition of working for me. And that was never a part of the conversation for me. So I'm not a big believer that government belongs in the doctor's office with people.
Yep. So Brad, were you considered an essential worker?
Yeah, we were open. My director, she kind of like led the way on staying open, and like how Randy said with like the plexiglass stuff.
Yeah.
We had to kind of convert to being curbside. We had to convert to virtual programming. There was a lot of unknowns during that time.
Yeah.
It would have been great if there was a leader in the White House that kind of like would pave the way and would have said, here's what we should all kind of follow and do. He didn't do
We
that.
had that guy named Fauci, though. Fauci was doing some stuff.
Well, wait, is he a good guy or a bad guy though?
I don't know. He's a Fauci. I don't know.
I've seen people say both now.
Yeah, at the same time, in the same sentence.
Brad,
Yeah.
But Brad, at the end of the day, for me, it was about making sure the employees felt safe, right? In a time of confusion, we wanted to make sure everybody felt like they, their concerns mattered. But it was also important to realize that as a business owner and a government official, that we got a job to do, okay? And having public meetings, giving a sense of stability and normalcy was a part of that. Having access to the government for the public, to me, was a part of that. So those were the decisions we made. It worked out fine. And we went along just like normal. We did our business. We didn't miss a beat.
Yeah,
And that's, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens when maybe something else happens next on things. Well, we're getting we're up to that hour already. That's incredible. We sort of ham and egg this show together tonight, and that was it turned out to be pretty good. I appreciate your answer on that, Randy. It's because that was at the time. It's easy to look back now and say, hey, that was the right decision, but at the time, I mean, there's toilet paper shortages. I mean, the sky was falling for a minute there.
Yeah, and we had to be respectful of people that had the fear too. I mean, that's part of it too. Is being a good leader is respecting all of those different viewpoints, and we tried to do that and make sure that people felt safe and that we could continue doing the business of the people.
Well, we're going to wish you luck. I'm going to go ahead and put a little self-promotion here where I'm going to put in the chat there. I'm going to put my interview with Tony Katz today, Randy. I had Tony Katz had me on his show this morning, and that was fun to do. And I think hopefully it helped me. I don't think I didn't have a Shreve moment or a Becky Cash moment, because that's people that have been taken advantage of on our show. And it's like, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but you've made it through tonight. I mean, you didn't have full Lucy. You had just her voice from above, and you survived.
John,
and all that.
Yeah, I appreciate all the questions. There's a lot of different. It's a lot of different viewpoints of people, and I respect that as a public servant. And I'm not always going to give you the answer that you want to hear or tell you the right answer in your mind, but all I can do is be honest with people and do the best I can within the constitutional office I hold. So I respect what Lucy has to say, even if I don't agree with all of it.
Yeah. Well, hey, Robert's already voted for you, so there you go. I don't know if he did it during our commercial break.
That's great.
You got it.
I appreciate that.
So Robert wants conspiracy theories. So, but we'll let you go off of that. We'll let you go off of that. Lucy, do you have a conspiracy theory?
I have a definite conspiracy theory, and that is that members of Congress duly elected.
You got to hold it. We're going to do it. We're going to do that. I don't care about the conspiracy theory.
Okay.
If they're going to do a negative ad on me, they better get my teeth and the hat and everything on there. But we're going to let Randy go because we don't want him to be. Oh, look, we got Tiffany sort of came on there just in time for conspiracy theory, possibly.
Well, so thank you guys for the opportunity. I greatly appreciate it. It was a good conversation. Hope to be on again sometime after I take office in January.
Yeah, that'd be good. And you can come on before that too. Okay. So
no, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Brad, John, and Lucy. Appreciate the opportunity. Have a good night.
All right.
Have a good night.
We'll sign you off with that, but get your tinfoil hats out.
Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out and let's see what's going on this week.
Okay, I lost. Brad's going after something. Man, mine's looking a little raggedy.
The real
Tiffany, are you there?
conspiracy is
Tiffany.
I am
the real
here.
conspiracy is if I even exist, since I'm just a voice. I could be AI. You
Yeah,
could have been secretly typing all this whole time, John.
you could be that finger behind Brad, and Tiffany could
Lucy,
be.
like the more that you make your voice that like echoey and awesome, yeah.
It's got to be the
That's the way to
cheap
do it.
microphone.
The
Yeah,
more
I don't have
sounds
my
like
big headset on.
T-Pain.
What's that,
It's
Tiffany?
not Lucy, it's
Can you guys hear me?
T-Pain.
Tiffany's backstage. I mean, Tiffany's on voice only, so we have two voices coming in,
Yay.
and Brad's frozen. Oh, now you're good. So,
Brad, my conspiracy is that Brad is now establishment.
oh, establishment what? With who? Which team?
He's establishment Democrat. Look at him. He's got his jacket on, some type of hat with a message.
This is just to troll David Shelton if he's watching, because
Because of the Cardinals fan.
yeah, he's always like, yeah, wait, Brad has a Cardinals hat. I need to rethink my life.
You
That's,
just messing with him. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I see
Well,
that.
no,
Yeah,
I have a conspiracy, but it's actually real. It's the news story out of Madison County. The former Republican candidate charged with stealing Madison County election ballots.
Larry Savage. He's
Larry
been on
Savage.
our show.
Yes,
He's another fatality, Lucy.
Oh well.
Wah, wah, wah.
That along with the ballot boxes being blown up.
Yeah, blow them up.
Wait, and that was a Republican as well, right? I'm not trying to
Paint a picture. Well, Republicans are good
No,
at
I
blowing
think you
up.
should. I think you should point out that electioneering and fraud goes both ways. There's too much at stake to let it be decided by the voters.
Yeah, those darn voters.
Well,
They get
but
in the
that's
way.
what is upsetting, though, is that when I see the comments of inside of those stories where it's Republican, whoever is in them will say something along the lines of, "Oh, they must learn it from a Democrat," or like, so to the point where it's like people can't even admit that their own party would be capable of something like that. Whereas like Democrat, yeah, like it's totally possible if a Democrat does that, but I don't understand that defense, that shield that you have to put up to constantly defend everybody.
Whataboutism. So, Brad, what happened? I heard this story and I saw his name. I'm going.
It was during a ballot test, and so like they have to run the ballots through the voting machines to make sure that when a certain button's hit, it reads what it's supposed to.
Okay.
Well, I guess Larry Savage, according to the Fox 59 article I read, it said that he ended up taking two of the ballots, folding them up, putting them in his pocket, and then talked online later about how they were 3 votes off, or like there was a discrepancy because the number of votes didn't match the number of ballots, and it was because he took them. So yeah, of course they didn't match. So I don't know.
I don't even know how you even think about doing something like that, first of all. And then second of all,
and it's just to try to show that, oh yeah, like no election is going to be perfect. Like that's all it's doing. And now everybody can point to.
Are they going to charge him with something?
Yeah, I think he's out on bail now, but they had to get a search warrant to go to his house to find the ballot.
They found the ballot still on smoking, still steaming. So that's odd.
That guy ran for Congress. That guy ran for Congress, didn't he?
Well, he ran for. Did he run for Yeah, he did. Yeah, he ran in the against Victoria Sparks, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting. I feel like I'm glad that there's no banner up right now because
Spiro was not here to remind me. There we go. Now there's a banner up.
There we go. Okay.
Because yours was not. It's there. Yours was out of the newspaper. You could back that up. Yeah. So Lucy, what do you have?
Oh my gosh. There's always a ton of conspiracy theories. I was going to jump in with that one on Randy where, the conspiracy theory is that, newly elected people to Congress might actually do something, for the people as opposed to themselves. But I believe that you would, John. I've known you personally I think, you know, you're a Thomas Massey, Ron Paul type. I think you would actually stand up for truth, justice, and the American way.
Well, I try my very
Amen.
best, but it is a daunting task when you're dealing with that, especially after talking to Mike Braun and Greg Pence
Yeah.
personally about it, and the fact that guess what, neither one of them want to do it. And I think they, you know, Greg Pence could have run again and won again. He just was like, he was just physically repulsed by that place. so I guess it gets to that point where it's no fun anymore. You got to go. But, you know, I love challenges. That's what I do. I love it.
Yes, you do.
You know, so we're going to get it. But so you got a conspiracy theory.
No, that's it. There were so many times I wanted to interrupt Randy, especially when, you know, he was talking about upholding and doing, you know, he's going to get to the office and he's going to uphold the Constitution, all those kinds of things. And I'm like, but you just, oh, I know it was. He told me that that there were some things that he disagreed with me on, and I really wanted to know which things he disagreed with.
Which ones they were?
Yeah.
I think that's a blanket
You
statement.
threw a lot of info at him, though, Lucy. Like, I don't know if you understand what that's like to face.
Yeah, Brad
This
just
is basic
smiled.
fucking knowledge. Like,
It's
I
a
read
lot.
a book. I read a book. Read a
we
book.
start-
Read a book. Read a not a
I know,
sports
but
page,
when
not
you
the
read a video,
magazine, but a
we
book.
could see that train coming around the bend a mile away when it starts
Mhm.
winding up. It's like, here we go.
It's a fun time to watch.
It is fun. It is a highlight. It is a highlight reel of the beauty of it. So Tiffany, you know, you're staying there rubbing elbows with the Victoria Sparks and all that for an awful long time there. You just got on at the very end.
You know, one of the highlights of being the co-chair of the Fishers Club is when we get new people and we get new volunteers, we want to make them feel welcomed, so that they'll come back and bring their friends, and that's what my job is. So I was working. I was doing what Brad does, but I didn't have a jacket on and a hat.
No, you look nice. Well, we did make 3 new friends Brad, this is funny. There was 3 guys there that just got done playing golf. They just stopped in to have a drink and they got caught up in our party. Oh man, we had them. They're ready. They're marching like Republicans now. That was fun. We had fun with them, but yeah. So Tiffany, you got any Bigfoot sightings, any conspiracies? I mean, we haven't done conspiracy theory in a minute. I thought it'd be just nice to throw it out there today.
Oh, well, my conspiracy is that Brad is now establishment, but I told you that Bigfoot does not exist. I've closed that chapter. Now it's all Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, you've gone to the Navy.
Yep.
Went from the Army to the Navy. So we're good to go.
Loch Ness Monster. I don't know. After that, I don't know what it'll be, but yeah, she's no Bigfoot.
Yeah, you're running through all of the conspiracies. Let's see if there's anybody. Is anybody in the chat there having a conspiracy? Throw it up there for us. Let's see.
Are we doing a show next week?
No, hey, let's talk about that. It's election night. I'm gonna have a bunch of people
doing
over
a
here.
show. I won't be here.
Yeah. So, in 2 weeks.
Election
2 weeks from now, we have a special guest. I don't know if you remember Jeremiah TV or Haas from the Marion County Fair deal. That thing is still going on. So in 2 weeks, we're going to have Jeremiah on, and that thing's heating up. He's got a trial coming up in December, but there's been some little updates that we're going to do, and I think there's some stuff that's going to be out about some people, and maybe we'll have something to talk about. So I told him, I said, hey, let's come on the show and talk about it. What's that, Tiffany?
What about that Gabriel guy? Is there anything going on with him?
Well, I guess him and Abdul are still fighting. But he's not in jail anymore and all that. I mean, we could have him on the show if you want to. It's an interesting story, and who knows what would happen in 3 weeks from now on that. So, but yeah. So let's see.
We'll be able to get our next lieutenant governor on.
Yeah, that's right. We could get look at Brad. Eh? Don't hurt Brad's feeling.
No, I told John this. I went to the Bartholomew County School Board fundraiser in Columbus, and Micah and Todd Rakita spoke, and it was terrifying because Micah got like a 7 or a 3/4 standing ovation, you know, they were all starting to clap along to the songs, and each speaker had theme music. It was a frightening spectacle.
You just went to see the sights. Is that what you did?
Yeah. Well, and like they had dinner, so it was, I left full, so that was good.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's one thing we do is we have drinks and food. A lot of things. It's like tonight. The appetite was really good tonight, Tiffany. The pretzels and the things that you had, they were most spectacular. So my conspiracy theory is about it's going to be election night. Since we're not having an election, we will not know who's going to win this. No, I'm just kidding. We will know. They're talking about 2 or 3 weeks before we know about this. We're going to know about this election before midnight. That's my conspiracy. Yep. Before midnight. I'm not going to say who it's going to be called for, but it's going to be done. It's going to be that much one way or another. I don't know which.
John, I want to bet you 10 debt-based instruments that you're wrong.
Dang,
Lucy,
man, I didn't know we were gonna have to raise
Lucy
this.
said that earlier when she was talking about dollars and notes.
Yes,
Yep.
I thought it was the
Yeah,
best
that was good.
description I've ever heard of a dollar. It was a debt-based
So
instrument.
I'm going to do the trading places bet with you. I will bet you
$1.
$1 that what were those two brothers on the stock market?
Duke and Duke.
Duke and Duke, yeah. So we got the Duke and Duke bet going there. So it by midnight on Tuesday, the election will be called for the president. You heard it here first, people. You heard it first. And whoever that is, well, I'm not even going to give you a number on it, but the number is coming to me. It's coming to me. It's 312. 312 is the college number, electoral 312. That's what I'm saying. So mark it down. And I did put in the chat there my interview with Tony Katz. You guys might want to listen to that. It's really good. He didn't try to fricassee me too bad, so I survived it. So anything else on your mind, folks? Do you want to do a magic 8 ball on the presidency? Who wants to do that? I got a magic 8 ball right here. Brad, what's the question? We'll see what it is. What's the question? Make it up. It's like Jeopardy.
Yeah, let's do. I want the governor's race.
Okay, let's go governor's race.
Yeah.
So you pick a candidate, and then I'll do it.
McCormick be victorious.
Okay, let's see what the magic 8 ball says. Hold on a second. I wasn't prepared to be reading little bitty 8 ball stuff with stuff all over it. Something not. What does that say?
This does not bode well for election night.
Yeah, this isn't good. I can't. Well, the problem is there's little dots there. So let's see. Oh, there we go. Deter not. Oh, I got to ask again. Here we go. So
there's going to be a recount. All right.
My something says no. So no, I'm sorry. 8 ball has spoken.
In 2 weeks, you guys are going to see like either a very excited me or a very defeated me.
We hope that we don't want you defeated, Brad.
No,
how can
Tiffany
you be
does.
defeated with your
Tiffany's
your
laughing all the way to the
Hey, my mic's turned on. My mic's turned on. I'm not laughing.
Yeah, see, she's not laughing. We're like one big family. When one hurts, we all hurt. So we know we'll get everything going on here. We'll get
to hurt, Brad. You have to hurt a lot.
Really, for Tiffany to feel it, you're gonna have to be in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
you don't have to be crying blood.
I think that no offense, Brad, but I think that the better half of our show was not on screen. We should have had it the other way around.
I know. Yeah,
we do what we have to do. We do what we have to do. So, let's see if I can get us out of this mess here. Let's take the banner off. All right, banner off. No more conspiracies for now. And let's see. I'm going to miss you guys. Remember last time we were apart 2 weeks, we were pretty giddy. So heck, after the election, it's going to be one. Oh, one more program note. I think I'm going to be doing a interview with Steve Whitmer. He had the misfortune of having an interview with Abdul today, which he was 45 minutes late to. Then he rushed him through it. and Steve was feeling like he didn't get a good chance. So I don't know. Maybe I told him, I said, we can get Lucy or one of our panelists to do an interview with him or whatever. So, you know, I mean, and he wants people to ask him questions. So we
Sure.
can have a video.
I'm available. You know, that's
All right. Well,
Yeah.
let me see what's up. So yeah, that'd be good. We'll do maybe we'll do a mini show interview with Steve Whitmer tomorrow night or something. Let's see what happens. Are you guys available tomorrow night? Let me check my schedule. I think I have something, a little bit of something here.
Come on, Otis.
Well,
Let's go potty.
I'm good. I have.
Are you looking at the 8-ball?
At that? No, this is my schedule.
Oh, okay.
I'm good at 9 o'clock. Can you guys do 9 o'clock? How about you, Lucy?
Probably.
Tiffany? Anybody?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yeah, I could probably do that.
All
I'm
right.
not going to make like 100% commitment, but I'm going to give you 99.
All right. Well, that's about what $1's worth these days. No, wait, we don't want that.
No, it's
We
not
want more
worth
than
99.
that.
It's
We
worth
want a
$0.07.
$19, $13 worth. That's good. So yeah, you need to brush up on that gold price. It has really gone up a bunch, and that's sort of troubling at this point in the stage of inflation and economic stuff. So it's just crazy how much it's gone up. Okay, that's enough. Hey, if you're watching now, tomorrow night we're gonna have a special election night or election preview Steve Whitmer interview. I just have to get it all worked out through the email, and we'll get it together. So, oh look, he's online. So he's in now. He's in. He's gonna sharpen the knives.
Do you think Beetlejuice, I mean Dave Smalls and Cassie Jackson will participate?
Ooh, I don't know. Beetlejuice. Tiffany, you're mean. You're mean.
Say it, Brad.
Well, I just love how you said Dave Smalls.
Mark
Smalls.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if they're Cassie's sort of speaking to me again, I think. And so's Mark.
Hey, Brad,
a
say
little bit.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Don't say it 3 times. Terrible. So, all right, kids, I'm signing this off here. I think where's the ending to this thing? Hold on.
Good night, y'all. Have a great night. Be safe.
There it is.
Bye,
All right.
guys.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
Good night.
Let's go.
Bye.
Giddy up.